Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com. Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. So it is Tuesday night in Texas, and we are getting some awesome feedback. We're pushing buttons and making stuff happen. It should be 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, but it is 8:09 Central Standard Time that we actually get to go live here this fine evening. Thanks to everybody jumping in the chat room and calling me out on how much we suck at going live at 8 p.m. It's quite interesting how many times we would love to say at 7:45 we are ready to push the button, and we go to do it, and then it's like we just watch things fall apart unceremoniously. So it's quite interesting. So for those of you who have never paid attention before, this is Seat Time. If you're watching for the first time live, or if you're listening on the archives or watching one of the videos on YouTube, we really appreciate you for tuning in. As you mentioned, as we saw there in the intro, this has definitely been brought to you by Fly Racing, the guys over at Ride PG, Powersport Graphics, and Stillwell Performance. Huge supporters of Seat Time, and we'll talk about them a little bit more as we get into the show. But if you've never looked into them before, you've thought about supporting the sport through supporting those guys, please think about doing that. There are discount codes you can use to save yourself some money because of the fact that they're such great supporters of Seat Time. Every other thing that's kind of going on. This past weekend, we got to go to the GNCC Big Buck. We're going to be talking with Jared Bolton about that. It's going to be fun. Bolton is a great asset to have, a good friend of Seat Time. He has a lot of opinions, and he's always right in the mix of the GNCCs as they're happening, being one of the track members. But what was neat is that we got to be there this past weekend because of the fact that we were part of the Arrive-N-Ride program through KR4. It's going to be a great segment to just be able to talk to about that. We actually gave Steven a mic. I've tried to give him a mic for so long, and he continues to unplug it. Well, because of the fact that he had such a fantastic adventure doing the UTVs, I forced him to have a mic, so he will be able to hear how that went for him as well. Now, our first guest, though, even though she's on the West Coast, we try to keep our West Coast guest towards the end just because of the way time zones work out. But this is a special guest. You don't get this. Yes, we'll be on the show that often, so we'll say, all right, cool, you're on first. We're having you on. It's going to be Miss Jenny Taft. So you guys, if you're tuning in to Seat Time, I know you watch Supercross and Motocross, and so with with Supercross being on Fox Sports 1 this year, she is the infield reporter. That's the title I'm giving her right now. I'm sure there's more an official, maybe unofficial title that she's given herself. So we're going to find out. I don't think just about her job, but a lot more that goes on, with Miss Taft, if you will. So in that, I have to say, Miss Taft, how is your evening going, kind ma'am?
Hello, how are you?
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So did you find the proper angle that you feel is going to work best for you?
I tried every angle in my apartment, and I ended up sitting in my famous brown couch that has traveled across the country with me to California when I moved. So this will have to do. It was at Seat Time. I had to be comfortable.
Hey.
So here I am.
Well, if you look at the logo very closely, there's a little couch in that logo for this reason.
I saw that.
We definitely we try to make sure that that I'm glad you noticed and that you just wanted to fit in. Where's your mustache though? That's what I want to know, where your mustache is.
Well, hopefully I don't have a mustache, but I did tell you that I like yours. I think it's a very nice look. I don't know. I just think it's kind of unique and fun. You pull it off well.
Well, thank you very much. And I couldn't have this mustache if it weren't for Connell, Jason Connell, one of the J-Day Rippas. Appreciate that guy for sticking his nose out and growing one and then daring me to do it. I've done it. I love it, and I'm going to keep rocking it and keep having fun with it. So
good.
We were just talking a little bit before the computer crashed, and then, of course, before we actually did push the go button, how you kind of, I wouldn't say stumbled, but how you kind of came into this job and moving all the way to L.A. to take this position with Fox Sports 1 and to work your way into the Supercross realm. So give us a little bit of backstory on how you got into the position you are now.
Well, long story short, I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and loved sports my whole life. I played a lot of stick and ball sports, so I actually grew up playing hockey and lacrosse, and played lacrosse at Boston University. So I played all 4 years, had a scholarship there, which was really awesome, and really wanted to study broadcast journalism. So I think for me, I knew I couldn't be a professional athlete, and the closest next best thing was being right on the side.
Right.
So, I did that and loved going to school in Boston. Moved home to Minneapolis and worked at Fox Sports North for the last 3 years, which is the local Fox.
Okay.
Covered hockey and Gopher hockey, college hockey, basketball, Twins, whatever they needed in Minnesota. And this last summer, I had an opportunity to come to Fox Sports 1, which is
Big
a
time.
new national network, and it's been an amazing ride. I started just doing all the updates. So if you're up early, are you an early riser?
I am now that we have we just had our third child. So since my wife is up with all the nursing that goes on through the evening with that,
Yeah.
I'm the one that is up at earliest whenever the kids are either waking up early or at least ready for school. I'm the one pulling them out of bed and making stuff happen.
So that means you have to watch my updates now.
Oh.
Because I know you're up. So I'm always on in the morning. I get up at 3:45 tomorrow.
So that's
first of all,
5:45 my time. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for having me on early because I'm about to go to bed. And I do updates throughout the week. And then on the weekends, Supercross has been just the best thing. I am loving the sport. I think for me, my biggest fear was just that the fans wouldn't embrace me and it'd be hard to adjust to a new face. But I think everyone's been really supportive, and I love everything about it. I mean, I can't believe we only have 2 more races left. For the season, it's flown by, and it's been great.
Yeah. I kind of did a little bit of digging around, and I do have to say that your blog that you used to keep up that probably was last updated in 2010 was awesome. So is that college?
I tried to delete that so many times. I can't figure it out. It's like a blog that I made in college for class.
Oh, but because I'm this guy, I'm going to give everybody the URL. So it's jennytaft.blogspot.com. And you can go see all of her videos from when she was in college and stuff. It's pretty entertaining.
It's the real beginning before now. But thank you so much. I really appreciate you watching.
Oh yeah, I mean it's in situations like this, I do try to stalk people through the internet to at least get a good backstory. To talk to the different guests. A lot of the guys that we do have on Seat Time, I do have a rapport with them. They're racers, they're people in the industry, but people like yourself or other Supercross larger guests that we have on that I can't just randomly text, on a daily basis. It's
you
it's
have my
good.
number. We're fine.
Uh-oh.
Text away.
This is the first drunk text is going to be like, we need to shut this down. It could get awkward.
We'll see.
Yeah, I know. So I wanted to know. I was looking at the fact. I remember when you did your first riding experience. Maybe it wasn't your first, but when you did a whole segment on it live on Fox Sports 1. Well, maybe it wasn't live, but it was on Fox Sports 1 of you going into a riding school and taking the time to really, I think go that extra step to not just learn to talk about the sport, but to actually go out there and do the sport and to understand it at the base level. Was there more to that, like that that they just didn't show any really embarrassing moments or really just fantastic moments that stick out in your mind?
Nothing too crazy, luckily. The only thing I'd have to say is I wanted more. I mean, we were in this lesson, and it was beginner class, and it was an amazing experience. We took a class in Atlanta, in Alpharetta, at the Geico Honda Center, and it was just a learn-to-ride school. And my instructor, April, was phenomenal, and it was a great place to start for me, but I'm on the bike. It felt really natural. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really felt like I could figure it out. I was like, where are the whoops? Like, aren't we going to do a few more things here? So they didn't let me do as many things as I would have wanted. I got to go up a hill. I made it. It took a few tries.
That little banked hill they had?
It was kind of a challenge. But now I just want more. So I've been talking a little bit with Jeff Emig, who's a part of the broadcast.
Yep.
And I don't know, he lives in California. I might have to go out and, take another lesson with him. There are so many people that have reached out to me saying that they'll take me riding. So this is just the beginning. I want to actually get a lot better at it. And I think it does help. I can actually talk to the guys about it a little bit more. I mean, obviously I'm by no means on any kind of level, but I think it's a respect thing for them too, to see that I'm learning and I'm trying, and
yeah,
I just love it. I wish I'd been riding my whole life.
Well, so do you, with say like Jeff Emig, you know that he's a past Supercross champion, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is there any kind of nerves that would set in on thinking of the lessons that you would learn from someone that well, I would say
He's
still
legit.
is really fast, but it's probably
Yeah, Ricky Carmichael,
Yeah.
possibly. I mean,
So can I come too to these lessons? I want to learn.
I know. I mean, the thing is, for me, everyone in Supercross has really embraced me, and I think Jeff Emig is a great example. He's so successful in his racing career, and now in broadcast. I think he's been a phenomenal analyst, and I think just for him to reach out and say he'd help me out and keep me learning, I think it just says a lot about this sport. It's a very family-driven sport, and I think that's hopefully I've just kind of joined that Supercross family, and Jeff will be there to help me out. We'll see.
Right?
I can't have any injuries. I was thinking though, like, what if I'm holding my microphone and then I have like a break? What if I break a collarbone and then I'm locked? So I have to be careful. That was their fear.
Lots of protective gear. So
Yeah.
when you were just like, okay, I got this gig, I'm going into this sport that I've never done before, that you may have heard about but probably know little to nothing about. What made you the most nervous, going into A1 with all the stuff going through your mind?
I think it was just the fear of the unknown. You can watch a Monster Energy Supercross race on TV or look them up online. There is nothing like seeing a race live. So for me, just going into A1, I think I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know where I was going to stand. I didn't know how the guys would be. And the guys have all been great. Just everything. I had no idea how many times a night they wanted me to report on something. And I've just tried to do my research and really build relationships with the athletes. And I think now the riders, it's just they're able to trust me that I'm not going to say something that they don't want it talked about, or I will say something that needs to be talked about, but that's my job. So I think just every week it's gotten better. Nerves were definitely an issue. When I covered hockey, for example, you'd maybe have one hit pregame. You're going to interview one of the guys after the second period, and then maybe postgame you do one interview. Supercross, you could go to me 15 times if there's an injury,
Right.
if there's a crash, if there's, who knows? It's just you're constantly moving. And you're kind of a part of it, and that's why I really have enjoyed it.
How is that when you have to kind of get into those really tight situations? Like I remember when Adam Cianciarulo, when he had his really bad injury and with his shoulder before surgery,
Yeah.
in the live, you guys were there with your cameraman trying to get in and talk to him and stuff like that, but you could tell it was like not only was he not wanting to talk, but his family and his mechanic were kind of standing around him. So
Yeah.
in situations like that, obviously you guys knew, okay, cool, we're going to back off. But when you kind of need to get in there and really find out what's going on, how do you kind of just say, okay, I know this is rude, but it has to be done for the fact of of the reporting aspect of what's going on. How do you kind of make that happen?
I think it's just a judgment call on, like, if it was me, and in that situation with Adam Cianciarulo, he was in tremendous pain. I mean, we knew at that point most likely his season was over. I mean, he was in that much pain. If it's a broken collarbone, not collarbone. It was his shoulder was dislocated and it kept coming out. At that point, we assumed possibly he would need surgery. For me, if that's me, like, I don't need to explain myself right now. Like, we'll be talking about it soon. And I just didn't feel it was right for me to go into that very intimate family moment. And I think us standing back and we showed what was happening, and that was it was hard to watch, to see that his season was ending. And I think at that point we pulled away and we said, that's enough. And I think that's where it just has to be a judgment call. But I've had situations, for example, Ryan Villapoto, he was in the semi again last week, and I said, "Hey, Ryan, can we get a word from you?" And he's said, "No problem. Like, I want to answer what you have to say." But if any time, I always ask their permission. I'll say, "Are you okay to talk right now?" Like, I go up to a lot of guys at the line. It's something they want now, and every time before it happens, I say, "Hey, Andrew Short, can we get a quick word from you? You've raced well in Seattle." And he'll say, "Absolutely, and if they don't want to, no problem. I'll ask someone else." Because it's not right this is their time. So I try to be as respectful as I can of who wants to talk when.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's it's good to know, because it not that I think that you guys are doing a bad job by any means. I don't want it to come across that way. I think it's great. It's just that you can, even through the TV, you can kind of feel that tension sometimes, and so it's interesting to know y'all's perspective from that side of it, and how you guys kind of look at it. So that's cool to know.
Yeah.
So getting this Supercross gig and having all of the Monster Energy Supercross girls out there and all this other kinds of stuff, like, is there any kind of like battle of the women's? Like,
it's so not.
Okay.
No, it's funny because like the Monster girls, I've gotten to know some of them. But Diana is awesome, and I've loved getting to know her. We've definitely become friends throughout just the season, and she just has like such an awesome personality, and she's just such a driven individual. And I've growing up, Diana was a huge Supercross fan, so it's always kind of nice to just pick her brain about the lifestyle, and
Right.
She knows so much about the sport. So for me, it's been great. It's always nice to have females around in any kind of, sport, and we can be outnumbered in Supercross. So I'd say Diana's been a great friend so far.
Sweet. Yeah, that's kind of a fun tie-in, because I wanted to know, since it is such a male-dominant sport right now, Vicky Golden just got all the credits she needs through, Ricky Carmichael's Road to Supercross, through the Arena Cross stuff, so she has now the ability to come and try to qualify at a Supercross, which will be cool, so get some girls on the gate.
Yeah.
But how many times have you been asked out on a date since you've become...
Not once.
Really?
Honestly. Nope, not once. But
is that disheartening?
I think, no, not at all. I think I do my job professionally, and I don't think anyone thinks that that's why I'm there.
That's
and
awesome.
I think that's the point. I mean, my job isn't there to be friends with them in some capacity, but to be a reporter.
Yes.
And it hasn't happened once, and I hope it never happens, because it's just, I really, really try. I pride myself on really taking the job seriously on every single level. And I think as a female reporter in general, it's hard. You can quickly be judged differently for what you wear, how you speak. If I say something wrong on Twitter, in 2 seconds, someone will tell me I said something wrong. So you just have to be on your best behavior. And in this world of social media, everyone is going to call you out for whatever they need to.
Whatever they deem call outable.
I know. I can't wait
world.
to see what all your fan base says. No, I'm just kidding. But it's
all 5 of them.
You know what? It is what it is. Like, I'm new to the sport, but I love it. And as long as people know that I'm just appreciating it and trying to report on it the best I can, then that's all I can do.
Absolutely.
So.
And it, yeah, and I wasn't trying to be, everybody gives me crap sometimes because I guess the language and a lot of stuff I say, but yeah, definitely not trying to come across as a dick about the dating question for sure.
Too, like, everyone has a girlfriend. I mean, it's not like they're not there to flirt either. I mean, they're there to do their job. Like, it's not ever been anything that has been an issue.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome that it's we've seen the sport grow a lot. You see the times when it's been on Fox Sports 2. People are like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have Fox Sports 2. I can't watch." Yeah. And they're looking around and I'm like, "Oh my god." I mean, like, it sucks when I don't have Fox Sports 2. But I remember my dad and I, we would never be able to watch Supercross earlier in my life. And he never was able to. He even raced a couple Supercrosses, and when he realized he didn't remember what place he got, he still had to wait like a week before results to get put out anywhere. And that kind of stuff.
That's insane.
It's cool that we've got such a great great avenue now, and that Fox Sports 1 has really seemed to like kind of put us into the family, if you will. And I say us as in the big us of the Supercross world, and that the sport has progressed with it. I think that, they joke a lot on the Pulp MX show about 90s motocross and all the stuff that went on back in the day. And so it's good to know that as everything's gotten bigger, everything has kind of progressed with it. And that, you are a professional reporter, and that, not that people would ever treat you unprofessionally to even ask you out on a date, but that things have gone.
And hey, if it happened, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Like, it's not something that would make me upset, but I just think if you put yourself in a position, to just be there to do your job and do the best job you can do, it's kind of, I don't know, it's worked for me so far.
Perfect. So question from the chat room, since you're from Minnesota, are you a Dungey fan?
Well, I'm just a big hockey fan.
Okay.
I am the biggest hockey fan ever. But no, I mean, what do you mean?
Like Dungey, like Ryan Dungey. Are you a big, like...
Did you say Dungey? I thought you said Dutch.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of
That's
course.
okay. I don't know what you're smoking.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Dungey is great. I've really liked getting to know him. The fun part is we realized we grew up like 15 minutes away from each other. So had he gone to high school, we would have been at rival high schools, and I knew friends that went to his school. So kind of a small world. And his fiance Lindsay is from Minnesota, and she's great. So I mean, it's just, for me, it's great to see anyone from your town, from your state do well, and makes it easy to support Dungey because he's the nicest guy around.
Right.
So
yeah,
whenever I get a chance to talk to him, I enjoy it, and he's just he's a great guy. But everyone in Supercross is awesome. I mean, I've enjoyed, everyone has a story, and that's what I think is so fun about all these guys. They all have a different way they got into Supercross, and hopefully just relaying that story to the fans is, what I'm trying to do. Right.
Yeah. So how do we get you to the more off-road side of the sport, where we go into the woods and get a little bit more dirty and there's mud?
I know. I kind of want. Well, everyone was saying, they're like, well, maybe it'll rain in Seattle, and it'll be like one of those mud races. And I've had the luckiest season so far with weather, and I don't think anyone. They're like, well, you won't be able to handle it when it's raining. I'm like, what do you think I'm gonna do? Run and hide? Like, I'll embrace it. You gotta just live it up.
My hair's just gonna be a little bit frizzier. I mean, what?
Fine.
That's cool.
It'll be a fun look, and then hey, we'll get a different perspective of Jenny Taft in the trenches. But I mean, I love it, and I hope, like you mentioned, the summer season. I mean, I won't be covering it, but I definitely want to hopefully go to a few races, and I'll be following it. So. I feel like this sport never dies, and I'd like to, you keep following it, and, as the seasons change and you follow what the guys are up to, and, Supercross will be back, I guess, before we know it.
Yeah, it's weird how, like, right when it's over, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be forever. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, it's December, January. It's like, Supercross. It's so crazy. Well,
did you go when you were in when we were in Texas?
Yes, I was at the Dallas Supercross. I try to go every year, and sometimes it's in more of a media aspect. Like, I'll go take pictures of a team, or do some video work for a team or something like that. But this past couple of years, it's just been really fun for my dad and I to go together and just kind of, hang out. So. Oh yeah,
I love Dallas. Did you say hello to me?
No. Unfortunately, I didn't. I don't really get a chance to. I'll be honest. I'm not one of the guys that gets to be around all the cool people in the media world.
Well, now we're friends, so.
I know. I'm gonna be like, guys, seriously. I have Jenny's number. I can text her, and she'll be like, text me back, and be like, does he still have a stash? Because if he does, he's in.
Yeah, that's the only way I'll know for sure.
I understand that. Well, how do
I find the chats? I'm trying to see how I can answer the questions with the fans.
So it's tlk.io/seattime. I know that was a lot.
tlk.io
/seattime.
What else are they asking? Any other questions for me?
Well, now that they know you're about to be in there, I think that they'll be able to. That they'll probably come up with more. It's funny because sometimes the chat room is really interactive with the show, which they have been in the questions and stuff like that. And then sometimes they just talk about their past weekend, like if a lot of them were at the GNCC or something like that. So it's kind of funny. I'm gonna tell.
Okay, yeah,
them.
I see the Dungy question. Good, awesome. Okay, cool. This is fun. So interactive. Yeah. Well, if anyone has questions, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. Now we'll see what happens. Now they're all like, uh-oh. So
I am reading.
There might have been some things that I didn't see that maybe none of us need to be seeing. Oh, so that guy in the chat room, Kurt536, Kurt Palmer, really cool dude I got to meet this past weekend. 17 years old, races the 3-hour class in the 250B. I think that him, myself included, would enjoy it if you were able to make it out to a GNCC event. Now, I know that they're a little bit more on the East Coast, so if you were to be making it home to Minnesota anytime later this year, it would be really cool for you to be able to come out and see kind of, I guess, our side of the sport. Because, we're being off-road racers in the woods and stuff like that. We probably, some of these guys will jump jumps like the guys in Supercross will, but I won't. That's just retarded.
Yeah.
Those are too big for me.
I think I would really enjoy that stuff. I think I would really enjoy that.
Yeah, because it's taking like what you did in Atlanta, but just having trees instead of jumps.
I think it would be great. I'm totally up for it.
Sweet. So now we got to figure out. Maybe we can get her to be a part of the Arrive-N-Ride program. Come out to a GNCC.
Send me the details.
So it was interesting that you said that you like hockey a lot, and I did look around.
Yeah.
And your dad was actually the captain of the '76 U.S. Olympic team.
He was, yeah. Wow, you did your research.
Yeah, I know. And then played for the NHL.
He did, yeah.
So is that, excuse me, does that love for hockey come from the fact that it probably was ingrained to you from such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, my dad really didn't push it on me. I started as a figure skater, like everyone in Minnesota skates. It's really cold there, so it's kind of our winter activity. We had a rink outside, so it was just a part of my family. My mom was actually a speed skater, so just big skating family. And I think all my girlfriends were playing hockey, and that's kind of how I got into it. And now my brother plays collegiately. He plays for Colorado College and had a pretty good year. So who knows where he'll go. And, my dad, it was fun to have him as a coach, like mentor growing up, but he never was too much of an intense dad. And I laugh now because all he talks to me about is Supercross. He's like totally hooked. And he came to his first race in St. Louis and had the best time ever. He couldn't get enough. He was in the pits because I gave him a secret pass.
Right.
And he was like, I need to come back. He's like, I think I'm going to come to Vegas. Like, absolutely ate it up. And he'll text me, is James Stewart going to do it tonight? Like, is he injured? Is his bike okay? I'm like, I don't know, Dad. I'll let you know. So it's awesome that kind of my family's embraced it too. And it's been nice to have him watching.
Okay, so now that you've, as you mentioned, we're like 2 races away from Supercross being over. Do you have a favorite brand?
Not really.
Okay.
No. I don't really have one. I mean, I think I don't really think I even am at the liberty of having an opinion that's very logical because I haven't been on those bikes. I mean, I don't even know the specifics. I know the specifics on why different riders do different things, but I don't have a particular say yet, Right.
But you would know why you would choose a different hockey stick for like...
I think I would, but I'm all about like trying it all out. So
right?
I think like a lot of these guys they have to get that feel for it, and that's probably where I would go.
Yeah, it's funny. They were just talking about Josh Hill. He's not going to be riding with RCH for the outdoors. Yeah. And a big thing was because he said that he just couldn't really get into the groove with the bike and was having a lot of problems with starts and stuff like that. So it's interesting, it's not interesting. It's awesome that you're picking up on those little tiny things. I as well had some issues jiving with a bike this past weekend. Nothing wrong with the bike, just that it had different grips, and I didn't spend enough time getting the levers in the right place, and my hands just went to shit. And I didn't even finish the race this past weekend because of it. Yeah, I quit. Everybody in the chat room is going to make fun of me. Everybody else is going to make fun of me. Suck it. But it happens. So.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it. I think I just clicked on something. Is that you?
No, that is totally you.
Someone said in the chat, Jenny, here you go, and I clicked on it, and I don't know what it was. I'll check later. Dangerous. Dangerous. No, I mean, I think it's the little things, and it'll be like Josh is a great guy, like maybe it just wasn't the right fit, and who knows. So I actually had the opportunity to interview Carey Hart last week and his wife, Alicia, also known as Pink, and it was pretty awesome. It was one of the coolest interviews I've ever done. It might have been the coolest, let's be honest. It was pretty cool. So that one is going to air in the New York Monster Energy Supercross show. So definitely tune in. It was an awesome experience.
Oh, I bet. And I don't know how in depth you guys got into their relationship in itself. I don't know if it was mainly Supercross based, but man, their relationship in itself is like just a roller coaster ride. And it's pretty neat to see how it's wound up. And I'm, very obviously, I think a lot of the successes that he's having and that his team is having is because of the fact that even though they did break up for a little while and were divorced, that they took the time to really work out their family life and get everything straight there. And I think a lot of that positivity, because they did that, shines through in how successful the team has become and is becoming and is going to, continue to grow. So
absolutely. You could tell that she was supportive, and you could just tell Carrie's passion for the team, and it's just, they're a cool group. So it's been fun to see RCH Racing kind of do, they're kind of at that step. They could be that next best thing, from a top 10 team to a podium team. I mean, that's kind of what they're working towards. So
right.
I think you'll enjoy the interview.
I'm looking forward to it. So 2015, is there already like a contract talk or anything like that for you to be back?
No, I mean, not yet. Let's see. I hope it'd be fun to stick around.
I agree. I think you've done a fantastic job. I've been thoroughly impressed. And I'm just a fan of the sport at the most basic level. Super big enthusiast. That's why we started doing our little show here. Just because we like to sit down and talk with people about what goes on in the industry and what happened at the race. And oh my gosh, did you see that takeout by who and who? But you've been a very huge asset, I think, to the team, and it's been a lot of fun. Now, if they just work with Ralph Shaheen a little bit.
Ralph?
Yeah.
I love Ralph.
Oh, he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. It's just sometimes
he's so knowledgeable, though.
He's a little too, I think, here's my take on it. He's a little too enthusiastic, and when it just seems that right when maybe like a Jeremy McGrath or Jeff Immig or Ricky Carmichael are about to get into the really good meat of a comment or of something that they're saying, he kind of does that overexcited, interruption into what they're saying, and then it just kind of loses flow. And I don't know if that's because he's the main announcer, and that's maybe what is his job, is to kind of help keep everything moving forward with the race. But it's kind of sometimes I'm like, no, what was Jeff gonna say? So.
Yeah, I've never noticed that. I think he does a pretty good job with the back and forth, but I do think that it is something to say about a lot of the time, there isn't as much time as you think for those comments, and we have a few points we have to get, and he's going to kind of be taking both sides, and then we're moving on to the next race. So, but that's a good point. I mean, I can always suggest that we have longer discussions if that's something that you fans want to see. I mean, everyone's always looking to make the best show possible.
Yeah, and again, it's just like when you get into some kind of a website or somebody writes a blog post and there's just a bunch of comment trolls and people are like, you're stupid, you need to die, like blah, blah, blah. Like, sometimes it becomes that just because of the fact that it picks up steam. So, it's all little things. So Steve Mathis, he says a lot of stuff about how they need to innovate with the sport and change a lot of things. I totally agree. But at the same time, I kind of what's the realistic thing that we could try to do? It's like, out of a list of 10 things, what's the one thing that we could try to do, that we could change? Now, if you could see that they're making, sometimes you can see when Feld is making efforts to really change things up and to try to bring innovation into the sport. And then sometimes you're kind of like, they're saying a lot more than they're doing. And that's when it's kind of like, then you want to get on the Steve Mathis bandwagon and raise some more fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, just being new to the sport, I don't have anything to base it off of. I mean, I watch our show, and I think it's like the best show ever, and I'm making sure all my friends are watching. And I just think if you're a Supercross fan, it's not, I mean, the racing speaks for itself. So like almost our commentation like gets in the way. It's like you just want to watch the racing. So I feel like hopefully we find a good balance between both. But I mean, I'll let you know next year if I feel like there's anything that we should do differently. Hopefully next year.
Yeah, I'd be like, I feel like I might need to listen to you. Don't ever feel that way. So as we start to wind it down, we're going to bring Jared Bolton on in a little bit. We're going to go through and talk about some of the new Fly Racing products they've got coming out. And, of course, we're going to announce the Pintful of Awesome award from all the social postings that you guys have used the hashtag Pintful of Awesome on. So, Jenny, I'll get into it after we let you go because I know you said you're going to be getting ready for bed soon and stuff like that. But, so we use the hashtag Pintful of Awesome for social postings of awesomeness.
Okay.
Again, does not need to be riding related, but of course that helps in the whole scheme of things because that's kind of the side of the sport that the sport that we're in. So while you're at the next 2 rounds after the little bit of break here, you should go ahead and use that hashtag Pintful of Awesome so that way we could have that
good to know.
Submitted into our award bank.
All right, I will remember that hashtag. Thank you.
Good. Well, cool. Well, we're going to have our winner to announce. So, Jenny, you're going to go spend a year and become the best dirt bike rider / racer that you know how. And you're like, I'm ready to go to Supercross. I want to race. Which team would you be the most stoked for as of right now when you're getting ready to start this new career to race for?
I'm racing on a team?
Yeah, so like which team would just be like, wow, yes, I got it, the spot.
It's so hard to decide. I don't even know if I can decide. Truthfully, because I've gotten to know different people in each group that I'm so impressed by that it'd be really hard for me to pick.
Well, think about it like, as an athlete, you kind of know your weaknesses and your strengths. Like maybe you're really, really good at self-motivation, but at the same time, your dieting sucks. So you needed a good nutritionalist. Like, those weird little things that you, being behind the scenes, probably notice that some teams have better of this, where they're maybe lacking a little bit of this. So is there any of that you've seen where you feel that you, as an athlete, knowing that you're going to react the same being an athlete in dirt biking or an athlete in hockey or an athlete, in lacrosse, that might foster you to make you that much better? Yeah.
I think I've thought one thing about Supercross that I think is fascinating is that fitness level, and just these guys are training 24/7. They're in the best shape. I would put them against any athlete. I mean, they're just in top performance shape. So I think training with some of their trainers would be kind of the best way to tell the differences in programs. Like Alden trains, Villapoto, and look at his success, and he's working with Cianciarillo and Ken Roxon, and then there's a guy named Rob Beams who's working with Ryan Dungey, and I think he's really had a great fitness season. Like, I just think it'd be interesting to try their workouts and then see. But I truly don't know if I could pick a team right now. That's so hard. I like all the teams.
Well, if you had a favorite color bike, what's your favorite color?
So what would it be? My favorite color is orange.
Woohoo!
So there you go.
Okay.
Orange.
Well, at least
make my own.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I ride KTMs. Not that I feel like you have to ride a KTM and bleed orange for sure, but
yeah.
It's pretty awesome that you do. Well, cool. Well, where can people find you and get in touch with you if they want to, tweet you or just randomly shout out and all that kinds of fun stuff?
Of course. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm all about Twitter. Jenny Taft is my Twitter name, and I try to respond to everyone as much as I can. I just think it's a fun way to get to know the fans. So Twitter is easy, and then I'm gonna make kind of a Facebook page soon. I haven't made it. I'm in the process of making a Jenny Taft reporter Facebook page. So be on the lookout for that, and I'm going to delete that blog immediately, so thank you for finding that.
I'm going to go to the Wayback Machine and save a copy of it and just keep reposting it as you delete it.
I don't understand. I must have made it with an old email address, because every time I try to go on and get rid of it, it's like, oh, that name is not found, and it just lives on.
Well, you're welcome.
But I did some pretty good stories back then.
It's funny. I'll probably have to. I'm working on a reel right now for some of my broadcasting stuff that I've done last year and this year. So I may have to hit you up and get some advice and some tips.
Well, I think you should send me your stuff.
All right, I like it. I dig it. Well, we really appreciate you being on the show. You have done a fantastic job this year. I hope that somebody at Fox Sports 1 watches this and is like, oh my God, we haven't sent Ginny a contract yet for 2015. Get it out there, because I would love to see you back as part of the team. You've done a phenomenal job learning the sport and I think becoming part of the family. So it's been awesome, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we will see, and hopefully it'll be I'll be hanging around for longer. It's been fun.
Dig it. Well, you sleep well, and what time is your show
Tomorrow.
go on?
So Fox Sports 1,
Uh-huh.
and I come on in the mornings from 6 to 10 in the morning, California time. So 8 o'clock for you,
All right.
8 a.m. And I come on basically every half hour with like updates, sports updates, things that are breaking news, whatever's happening. So tune in.
So tomorrow morning, can you, breaking news, Ginny Taft was on Seat Time.
I wish I could, but it probably wouldn't fall into the priority list yet. But I can see what I can do.
All right, good. Well, we want to make sure that you definitely help us out as much as you can here.
Oh yeah, let me know. I mean, however I can help you guys, and send me your stuff for
Absolutely.
sure. I'd love to see it. Just if anyone has any questions for me, I'll definitely shoot them my way. And this year's been a blast. So far so good.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you very much for all you've done, and we will definitely have you on again.
All right, talk soon. Have
Yes,
a good
ma'am.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. So Ginny is super cool, ladies. I'm so thankful that we were able to have her
I better
on.
get off. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye, Ginny. I think it's interesting because her personality is exactly the same as what you see during Supercross. She really does. She loves athletics and sports in general, and you can tell that she really dug in deep when it came to Supercross. She learned about the sport, continuing to wants to keep learning to feed the bug. And I think it'd be really cool if she gets another gig for 2015. I'd love to see that. Some mo. So. Obviously, huge supporter of Seat Time is our good friends over at Fly Racing. You know that they are a big supporter of the Pintful of Awesome Award, as well as lots and lots of off-road series, off-road racers, big supporters of guys in the Supercross and motocross world. We see guys like Andrew Short and Trey Kennard obviously wearing a lot of their stuff, signature helmets, things of that nature. But one of the things that they just came out with, they just released for 2014, is their Freestone mountain bike helmet. So that is the award that they wanted to give away for the Pintful of Awesome Award this week. And I figure, instead of just talking to you about the product, I think a good way to do it is in the future we're going to start hooking this up. But what you can do is you go to flyracing.com. And with this, it comes up, and you look at the top in the nav, mountain bike. You go to helmets, and then you can see the helmets, and the one that should load at the top is the Freestone helmet. And the winner gets to choose their color. Now, because it's Seat Time, I obviously would recommend the red and white one. So that way it's Seat Time colors, and you could tell everybody, oh, look how awesome it looks. It looks just like Seat Time stuff. So that's what I would suggest. So here are some of the notes that I took away from the Pintful of Awesome Award. Honorable mentions, KCT. I don't know why, but I just really like this pick. It was super fast and super fun. I think it was a Torx race that you were at. It just looked like a really cool picture. It looked like you were just out there ripping it on your dirt bike, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you for submission. Almost, dude. Almost. Keep it up. Keep it up. Another honorable mention is B. Williams 524. Shredding the gnar on the mountain bike. I loved it because it kind of reminded me of some of the stuff when I first started racing downhill and free ride was getting big. You're like, man, check out this gnarly drop, and you're like, oh, it's so big, and it's like a foot tall, and there's just a bunch of rocks around and stuff. But hey, I know, no, it was just an inch long. That's what she said. So thank you. So the winner of this week's Pintful of Awesome Award is the owner of this jersey, Justin Sode. At JSode189 on Instagram, he had used the hashtag Pintful of Awesome on a video that was supposed to be either himself or his friend. I think it was his friend acting as though he was the Cody Webb and failed miserably. So I think Steven's got that pulled up, ready to show. Yes, so Awesome. Keep going. Remember, if you guys don't keep tagging stuff, then we don't get to keep doing this. Guys at Fly are super awesome about giving away some free product to all of the good fans of Seat Time. You just got to keep going with the tagging all your fun stuff, so we really appreciate it. It was fun having Jenny Taft on. She seems like a really cool chick. And in the background, for those of you who have no idea what that noise is, that is the Bolton. Do you have Chester with you?
Do not.
No?
He's in the garage. He's hanging out.
Yeah, he's just doing his thing, being all in the cubby.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we were on with Jenny for a little bit longer than I thought we would be. I didn't know how it was going to go, but she was really receptive, and so it just kind of stayed on for a little bit. So thank you for kind of hanging out and being ready to come on. We really appreciate it, man. So when did you get back from Big Buck? How was cleanup for you guys?
I've been back for about 24 hours now. No, it's actually longer than that. And actually, everything cleaned up really well. That one, obviously, with the hill climb, everybody likes to go watch that. You can put trash boxes out, but there's still people that don't use them. So there was a little bit of trash to pick up off the ground. But other than that, as far as pulling arrows and all of that, everything went really quick. And I think I pulled out of there about 5 o'clock yesterday, so it's not bad.
And then what was your drive time for Big Buck?
Oh man, it's so far. It's a whole like 2.5 hours for me.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's tough, but that was 2.5 hours. Steel Creek man, it's like 50 minutes. So it's been really tough the past few races on the drive times for me.
No Starbucks tonight, though, right?
No, I am at home.
Awesome. So what did you think of Jenny being on the show? I know you were in the chat room, so I figured you were watching for a little bit.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I was actually very impressed that you were able to get her on here.
I was as well. I'm not gonna lie, but as she said, she's like, I'm very responsive on Twitter, and she was. We just asked her on Twitter, and she hit us back, and she was like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." And so then we, then we were able to, send her a direct message, and she was totally into it. So there you go. It was pretty cool. Very, very nice of her to do that. I don't know if you should have really explained that for her sake, because now somebody might ask for something else. That's true. Like you, what are you gonna ask her?
Nah, I'm too polite for that.
Yeah. In person. So, I know we got to see each other, unfortunately, very shortly this past weekend, which is never fun for either of us. And normally when we're in the same town, we like to hang out and be very, very, very close, if you will. But we were there enjoying our KR4 Arrive-N-Ride experience, where Steven got to partake in the UTV racing, and I was able to partake in the morning race in the Sportsman A class, where I got my ass handed to me handedly. And then you were just on trail crew, doing what you do, and then video and such. So that's awesome. But I wanted to know from all of us, and I will start with you, Bolton. What was the coolest experience of the weekend?
I've got a few experiences that I don't want to share due to them being sort of I don't know how to describe it. There's nothing illegal that I did, but it was there were police involved with a couple of incidences. Those were fairly interesting, but
is this the stuff that you were telling me about, Steven?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Can I talk about it? Can I talk about it?
Possibly, go for it.
Well, this is like when the 4-wheelers got stolen and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Cops getting called and all that good time.
Yeah, so that was kind of some of the more interesting stuff that happened. But as far as the actual what we expect out of a GNCC, there's not really anything that stands out in my mind as being better than others. It was actually just a really great weekend of racing, and any time that you can go and just have a full weekend of nice, dry GNCC racing, it's pretty good.
Steven.
Yo.
Best experience of the weekend?
The race.
Okay.
Yeah. Ripping through the woods in a UTV. It doesn't get better than that.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I bet you that was awesome.
Well, okay. It could have got better
if you hadn't crapped your pants.
Yeah.
Hey, what I want to know is how did you like that road that you went down through the woods? Like, you had to have been doing probably 60 or 65 down that road.
Yeah, screaming through those woods.
That was the butt poker road.
but I mean, it was the rough sections that just beat you up so much. So that road through there, screaming like 65, 70 miles an hour, it's the time to relax if you're a co-pilot.
Oh my gosh, man! I was very jealous of Steven. Like, if I wasn't filming, I would have wanted to be in one of those UTVs so bad. It was so freaking cool that Steven was able to do that. So for me, my most exciting whatever part of the weekend for me was lining up on that line and getting fifth, getting fifth off the line. That was intense. That was a seriously retarded, crazy start, and it was fantastic. It was so cool. I was kind of in the somewhere between 5th and 10th, with all those guys into that first 180, but then I was able to just kind of like zig a little to the outside and just hammer down and pass a bunch of them, and then kind of rubbed a guy to the inside to get 5th, kind of into that hole shot area. That was really cool, and then it was intense. I mean, so for those of you guys who have never raced a GNCC, and there's a lot of people that have opinions out there about GNCCs that they're too wide, they're too fast, all this kinds of stuff. I can tell you right now, because I was one of them, the only reason that those opinions exist is because those people haven't raced a GNCC. When the first mile and a half was fast and open, and I think it's specifically to do that to kind of break up everybody. So the super fast guys that are going to be good in the fields can kind of break out, and that once you hit the woods, people can start to catch up, but you're a little bit more spaced out. Well, we had already started to catch some of the older dudes in the row in front of us by the time we hit the woods. And about a mile into the woods, some of the super fast guys from behind us were starting to already mingle into our line. So, dude, it was a free-for-all. I mean, it was so chaotic. I've never, ever experienced a cross-country race like that. Obviously not an enduro, because enduros, it's just not going to happen. But, oh, my gosh, it was so freaking cool. I mean, I want to do another one so damn bad. It just wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the guys at KR4 and their Arrive-N-Ride program. So this is not an ad. They did not pay us for this. This is completely about our experience. It was awesome. If you guys have never done a GNCC and don't have the money to travel and want to be able to fly in and experience a GNCC event, this is the way to do it. There are other programs out there. We have not done them. We did the KR4 Arrive-N-Ride Adventure, and it was fantastic.
Ditto.
Yeah. Ditto. And see, unfortunately, Bolton is just on the GNCC Arrive-N-Ride Adventure.
Yeah. It's arrive and ride around on a quad and stick up arrows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then pull you out when you break down.
Yeah. Man, and it's funny too, because we'd go by, I think I about halfway through my third lap is where my hands, just shit the bed. The blisters were horrible. I was trying to hold on. Started making stupid mistakes because I was either whiskily throttling it, trying to hold on different, or missing clutches and stuff. It was pathetic on my part, to say the least. Yes, baby hands for sure. But it's funny watching you come by and guys are just sitting on their bike, and you see them like lap after lap, because they're waiting by their bike like they're supposed to for you guys to come pull them out. But it was just like, oh, that so sucks.
Yeah. I always, like, every time I pull up, I always ask them what happened. Not just because it tries to, I'm trying to make them feel a little bit better, but honestly, I want to know, and every now and then, it's something that I can fix or get somebody to fix it, so it kind of works out.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I don't know how many people actually were watching the webcast, but it was neat that I got a chance to go in and kind of get on the Racer TV webcast. It was a lot of fun. I feel like I did actually a little bit better than I expected to. I was expecting to be a little bit more nervous. It's interesting because that they have their like system set, the way that everything kind of works, and for them to work me in is a little bit extra work for them. So obviously, big thanks for letting me come on in, but. It's interesting how you have to interject yourself, and I don't know if it's that way for guests, and other people that come on the show and help co-host and stuff like that. And if it is, I apologize because it's kind of tough to know how and when to interject, when somebody's in the groove, but you still got a point to get across. Got a lot of tweets and pictures and all kinds of stuff. Oh, look at Woody B. Pierce on the webcast. So that was really cool. I appreciate everybody giving me shout-outs because it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And I definitely hope that if we do get to make another GNCC this year, that they will be kind enough to let me back in for a little bit because it was a lot of fun. Bolton, if you just do, when you're not doing track stuff, you're filming, right? You don't ever get a chance to make it in for the webcast?
Yeah, it's pretty much the way it works. What I've learned is apparently I'm considered to be too good at operating a camera. So therefore, they want me to operate the camera. So basically, the way a GNCC race day works for me is I'm at the track before 7 o'clock. I'll go out, and there's me and one other guy that sets up the checkpoints, and then I basically just kind of spend the youth and morning races doing kind of whatever, towing people, fixing the track here and there, just kind of whatever. And then I'll film the afternoon race for the live feed. Sometimes, depending on, if there's some sort of technical issue, I may get thrown off of the actual true live camera, and I'll basically just kind of roam around and shoot to a card and bring the card back for them to play. That's because out of the guys that do it, I'm the one that knows the whole track and knows how to get from place to place. So that's kind of where it's an advantage of me basically doing essentially 2 jobs in a weekend.
Right.
Two jobs. It's actually about like 15 different jobs, really.
Right. Oh my gosh. So I wanted to know, Steven, I don't think a lot of people, I know I didn't. There's a lot more that goes into the UTV side of racing than I expected. So I kind of wanted to get you to give a little bit more of an explanation of the process of what you went through with the KR4 guys to kind of get prepped on getting in this quad to be a passenger. I mean, you put on a fireproof suit. There's a lot of stuff that you guys went through, so I kind of wanted everybody to get a chance to hear about that.
I mean, with it being basically a car, you've got to have fire suits, helmets,
5-point harness.
4 point.
Oh, it's
4 point or 5 point.
Okay.
But
so you could be really safe or kind of safe.
Yeah. 4 points are just easier to get out of if you are rolled over. So, I mean, other than that, the things you have to have, I believe, are doors, nets, fire extinguishers. Other than that, you can race with a pretty stock UTV if you wanted to.
Yeah, move the radiator.
But after being in that machine, no.
You don't ever want to.
Stock machine ain't gonna cut it. Oh.
Yeah, it was intense, man. Those things sounded awesome. I mean, it was that whole rape date mentality, or that was what I heard when those things started up and went off the line. It was pretty damn serious. So I can only imagine being in that thing.
Oh yeah.
That it was that much crazier.
Now that was actually for that race. I actually did it like I was mentioning before. How I'll ride around and shoot to the card and bring the card back for them to play.
Yeah.
I did that from my bike, and actually I went and got on my bike and I kind of rode over by the start right as the national anthem started, and I was like, well, I think the easiest thing for me to do is basically just ride the track until I find a good spot. So I jumped on the track and started riding, and I got to right around a spot where I wanted to stop, and one of the other TV guys was already there. So I kept going a little bit further, and I'm like, okay, this looks like a good spot, and I rolled up on the live, the spot that they were shooting live.
Yep.
So I was like, oh crap, I can't stop here. So I kept going, and by that time, like, they had already started.
You're like, I'm getting run down.
I'm going down that road that we were talking about before. I'm going down that road, and I'm like looking over my shoulder. I'm like, oh God, I hope they're not coming.
Yeah, I like rewatched the broadcast today while I was at work and saw you riding the bike through the middle of the track as UTVs are going. I was like, there it goes. Yeah.
That's our bolt-on.
Yeah, now there were a few places where, like, I went down that long road a couple of times, but I'd actually ride the the track that the quads and the bikes were on.
Mm.
Because that we use that when the UTV race isn't going on. That's our tow road. We use that to get in and out to tow people. But I did the opposite. Since the UTVs were racing on that, I was using the main trail as my way to get back and forth. So it was actually really cool because they had started dozing that section of the track while the UTV race was going on. So I was just blasting through there on this like freshly dozed track, just burning lines into it.
Oh, you're such a cool guy, Bolton. Yay! I wanted to give Bolton a chance to talk about any of the new promotions that are going on because of the fact that, as you guys know, one of our big, huge supporters of Seat Time is the guys over at Powersport Graphics, known as RidePG, where you can find them at ridepg.com. They do a lot of awesome stuff with graphics, so you can go to their website and see all the stock graphic kits they have. And if something stock doesn't do it for you, you need to get logos added on. You can have logos added to it. Or maybe you want to do something fully custom. All of those things are options that you can do. They do vehicle wraps. They do fun stickers. I know Bolton has a caricature of himself, and he printed those up so that everybody can have those. I mean, they can really do a lot for you guys. And they also now have a full-service shop, as I well believe. So sounds like you can get a lot of stuff from those guys. So they're huge supporters of Seat Time. But what kind of big promotion do you guys have going on right now?
Actually, I have not been in the office since last Wednesday, so I've been missing out on a lot. But right now, there's not anything like certainly specific. But I always say, if you come to me, tell me that you saw it here, I'm gonna set you up with some sort of deal. You will not pay full retail if you come to me and say, "Hey, I saw you on Seat Time. What can you do for me?"
Besides a handy, I'll even give you a discount.
Besides that, I will not do that. I apologize.
He's like, I'm a lot lizard on my Saturday nights.
Unless your name is Rob Mitchell.
What is it? What's your alter ego? What is it? Something Allman?
Leonard Allman.
Leonard Allman, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Maybe Allman can do it.
He could, but he's like full-blown redneck, so he don't like none of that.
Sweet. I was thoroughly enjoyed with the racing action that we got to see. So the XC1 race was fantastic to watch up until the last 2 laps, because at that point, where what we thought we were going to see check out Charlie check out, we actually saw catch up Caleb catch up and then check out. For a while there, Mullins was on him. But then reading the press release, I didn't get a chance to talk with Mullins, but reading the press release, it sounds like he wound up kind of getting in with a lapper. And because of that, he hit his hand, he kind of got one of his hands into a tree. And obviously that kind of slowed him down a little bit. It was kind of sore. And he wasn't able to just punch it back into full speed to try to catch and reel in Caleb. Josh Strang as well said that he was having some issues, and he tried to reel everybody back in. Was starting to catch up, but because he spent so much catching up to everybody, that he kind of gassed himself out. So once he did catch everybody, he really didn't have anything left in the tank to make a final move. Watching those guys in the woods, though, is insane. The videos do not do it justice. If there is any other reason besides how cool it was to race the GNCC, another reason, if you haven't been, is to go and watch these guys race. Yes, it is very difficult to work around a 12-mile track. You do kind of have to say, all right, I'm going to go see him here and see him here. You need to have some kind of a plan so you get to see some of the cool bits. But, man, it is so worth it. It is so insane how fast those guys are going. Andrew DeLong looked really good this weekend. Got 4th place in Big Buck. He has started to pick things up. I don't know if it's bike, a lot of adjustments with the bike. He's starting to settle in with the team. I do know that they've changed a lot on that Husky. He actually had a dry brake on his tank this past weekend. For those of you who don't know, there was some controversy because of the fact that the the Husqvarna tanks can't fit a dry brake. The ones in the States anyway, the ones from Europe can. So when he couldn't get one from Europe, they were running a KTM tank because they fit with a dry brake. Husqvarna found out about that. That had to stop. And then so now they've gotten Husqvarna tanks from Europe in the States because a dry brake will fit on that. And that is how he's able to get a dry brake on his tank. So that's a long-winded way to say that he now has dry brake and doesn't have to spend 30 seconds to pit. Whew. Bolton, what do you think was the big factor for so many people having rear shock issues?
It was rough.
Yes.
It was very very rough. And I'm honestly not 100% sure what made it so rough. I mean, yes, we've raced there for a long time. We raced there since 1997.
It's like 18 years or something.
Yeah, but there was quite a bit of fresh trail, quite a bit of trail we hadn't used in a long time. So I don't know if it was just, I don't know if it had rained earlier in the week and dried out a lot. I mean, I don't know if somehow that had some sort of effect on it or what. But I just know it got really rough.
Yeah, no, it was, what I thought was interesting, which was really neat, is like the first 5 to 6 miles of the track was open, flowy. When you were in the woods, it wasn't super gnar. But then was when you start getting past that, you get to the 6, the 7, 8 mile, and 9 and 10, up to about 9, is where that flowiness, you kind of lost a little bit of that flowiness. You got a tad bit more elevation, but roots were just everywhere. I mean, it was insane. All the dirt was just getting pulled out from all these roots. So even these exposed roots just became more and more exposed. They lost all their skin, all the bark, and so they became super, super slick. And they were just saying maybe it rained or something because like you could see moisture kind of coming up in these areas. So you'd come trying to just blaze across this, this layer of roots, and it was just, it was so slick. Then you hit the tight, nasty stuff at mile 10, and then kind of get into some fields there at the end. I thought it was interesting how in our race, the tight stuff, I mean, it really almost looked like barely anybody had gone through there. Like, I guess because it was so tight, people weren't like blipping around and everything, but.
Yeah, that tight section, the youth went through it, and, there's not a ton of them, and the race is a bit shorter. So it wasn't super burn in. Then you guys rode it. You were pretty close to the front, so the first couple of laps there wasn't much to blow it off, and it's actually a fairly tight section, so it stayed fairly covered up, and there were a lot of pine needles in there before.
Yes.
I rode it Thursday, and I rode it again on Friday on the bike, and I've got 2 tires that are excellent, and by excellent I mean they're like chunking knobs off.
They're slicks.
And that was actually very interesting to ride those pine needles with those tires.
Yeah, I bet. So
yeah,
in the tight section that we were talking about is actually, it's like tight. It's not like it's single track. I mean, it was tight single track. It was
a lot
cool.
of that
fun.
A lot of that's been there for several years, but some of that is also that's a lot of the stuff that they used for last year's Little Brown Jug Enduro. Which will be a national this year.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yeah. So, like I said, when you first went into that tight section, the first tight part of it was brand new 2 years ago. So, it's been ran. It was ran in 2012. It was ran last year, and it was ran for the Enduro last year. So it's only been ridden 3 times, but it's a rut through it.
Yeah.
It is a true single track section.
Yeah, and it was cool. It was a neat section that they had in there. A good way to break it up. If you were watching the webcast, right when they came through the pro pits for the first time, I was in there talking with everybody, and they were like, oh, well, look how everybody's all together, and nobody mentioned where they had just come from. And I was like, well, guys, the reason why they're all together is because they just came through the tightest section of the track. So everybody can go with about the same speed, but they all could catch up to each other. There was no place to pass. Like, there were no other lines. So it's like, that's why, you pretty much had all the XC1 guys together coming through the pro pits on that first lap. And they kind of looked at me and were like, oh, good job. Nice observation. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't raced the race. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun. It was neat. trying to think of some of the other big standouts that I was from the weekend when it came down to the afternoon race.
Before when you were mentioning how the track kind of changed as you went through the mileage.
Yeah.
It's actually really interesting how that property is. Would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That whole side, the woods are kind of they're a little bit thicker over there. And then when you get back around, when you get to the 6, you kind of went into what was clear cut probably. I want to say probably about 10 years ago. So it's a lot of really small pine trees in there.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of open. And then you come out onto a really wide logging road for just a short little bit. That's when you hit the 7.
Yep.
And you crossed over that wide road that the UTVs went down. When you get over in there, it's like a completely different piece. It looks like a completely different track. That's when it gets into there's a lot of ravines. There's a lot of the woods are just, the trees are spaced a whole lot further apart when you get over there. And that was 7, 8, 9, 10. And when you got to the 10, that's when you hit the tight pines again. You got into the single track again.
Yep.
So really, that whole place, it's almost like 3 different pieces of property in one. It's a really unique place, and I think that's why people like it so good. There's a good mix there.
If I could make a GNCC once a year, that so far is definitely one of them. Like, I mean, that was epic. It was so much fun, and it was cool to be able to race in the morning race, knowing that I was probably going to have the best the track was going to look all day.
And while I'm no Caleb Russell or stepping to the side that I work on. I'm no Barry Hawk. I'm no Jeff Russell. But I am a racer, and I can tell you that's one of my favorite places. That one and the Ironman are 2 of my favorites.
And Ironman's one of the ones that somebody was saying that we should try to make a little bit later on this year.
Oh yeah, it's worth it. It's more than worth the trip.
Very cool. Somebody had a question for you in the chat room. I think this is a good question. B. Williams, 524. He wanted to know who are Bolton's all-time American Mount Rushmore of off-road motorcycle racing. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yeah, good luck. I couldn't. I honestly probably couldn't do that. That's tough.
Oh wow. Well. I know people probably want to make fun of me for this a little bit since I hang out with them so much.
Because it's easy to make fun of you.
I'd really have to put Barry Hawk on there. Granted, he only won one GNCC championship on the bike, but the guy won 7 on a quad, then moved to the bike and won. I mean, nobody else has been able to do that. So, in off-road racing as a whole, I'd have to put him on there. And I think, I gotta go with the obvious ones here. Mike Lafferty.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, not only has he won all the national enduro titles he's also won quite a few GNCC overalls. Never won a championship, but he's won some overalls. So Barry Lafferty, man, it's really hard. Then you have to look at like Dick Burleson too. 8-time national enduro champion.
And what about Malcolm Smith? Would he be on there, or is he like too much of a West Coast guy for you?
Well, realistically, you could really do like an East Coast and a West Coast off-road Mount Rushmore. Well, out west you could do Malcolm. I'd put Destry on there. Obviously, you got to put Kurt on there.
Yep.
And then a 4th one's really hard from the West Coast. There's been so many solid guys over the years. I don't know. I'd have to think way too long on that one.
I know it's tough.
But East Coast, like I said, one more. I'm trying to think of one more I'd pick from Rodney Smith or Scott Summers.
And Randy Hawkins too would maybe.
Yeah, Randy would be a great one too. I mean, Randy's done so much, not just as a racer, but as a team manager too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. there's so many guys to choose from that it's almost impossible to pick just 4 guys, really, 4 or 5.
What about me? Would you put me on there?
I don't know, probably not.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Don't worry about it. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. The XC2 racing was actually kind of changed up a little bit. We saw Ricky Russell out in front, but unfortunately he kind of lost it there at the end. Grant Baylor got around him and actually got the win. But with Ricky Russell, he was leading for a really long time in the XC2. He did the same thing at the Big Sky race. Big Sky was 3 hours long. And he was actually up front for a really long time. I don't know, he wasn't leading, but he was up front competing with everybody, behind Charlie Mullins and all that stuff. And then he kind of like hit a wall and kind of lost it. And I didn't get a chance to talk with him, but I don't know if that's the case or not, if he had some issues with anybody, with lappers or anything like that. But it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to carry that through, because I know he would have loved to have had that Desert 100 win last weekend and then come back with an XC2 win here. And then Trevor Bollinger in third. This guy was super disappointed with his place, but that's just because I think he's won now and he knows he can win. And he wants to win all the time, and that's good motivation for him. So what do you think about how Trevor Bollinger did?
Man, I've known Trevor for quite a number of years, and what I think is really unique about Trevor is he grew up with a motocross track in his backyard. It's just up the road, an hour from here, other side of Morganton, North Carolina, opposite side of town from Steel Creek. It's kind of almost like a legendary track on this end of North Carolina, Silver Creek Motocross. He grew up there. His family owned it, but he never really raced a whole lot until I think the first time I can really remember him would have been 2008 or so. And he was doing really well. 2008, 2009, he did really well in one of the C classes in the North Carolina series, and was actually winning overalls in their C race. And then he's kind of progressed from there, and then had a couple of years where he had some back-to-back injuries. But it makes me wonder, if he wouldn't have had those injuries, how much further ahead he would be now.
Right.
He probably would have been, if it would have been for the injuries, I think we would have seen him doing what he's doing now in XC2 probably a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, because it was 2011 and 2012 when he had all the injuries.
Exactly.
I remember that, from when we were chatting with him on the show. Man, I think it's really impressive what he's doing, and he knew that he's all right, well, last year when he was doing the 4-stroke A, it's kind of I'm going to do the first couple rounds because they're close. Didn't expect to do as well as he did, and then he kind of was able to find the money he put together for a program. And I think it sounds like it's kind of the same thing this year. He was supposed to kind of be on a team that, I don't know if the team fell apart or the support didn't come through. But he's still kind of trying to figure it out, and obviously could use any help that he could get.
Oh yeah, and he's a great guy too. I mean, he's truly humble. He won't go out there and say, he's not the type that's going to say, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to win this." And even when he does, he's very thankful for everything anybody who's ever helped him out. So he's definitely a good guy.
Yeah, cool. It was a lot of fun to meet everybody this past weekend. We got off our plane in Charlotte, and a guy came up to me and said, "Hey, I really like your mustache." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And he was kind of like, "This may sound weird, but do you care if I take a picture with you?" And I was like, "I mean, no, I don't care." And he goes, because I had my red Seat Time shirt on and my red hat and everything. He goes, "All the red makes me think of Mario." And I was like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome." And so he took a picture. He's like, "I just want to be able to post on Facebook that I took a picture with Mario or something." So I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." And then I don't know if this is bad or not, Bolton, but there was a girl at sign up. Her name was Brittany. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and she's new. I don't think I've ever talked to her until I think this weekend was the first time I've talked more than 3 words to her. But she's new this year. Seems really nice from what I've seen so far.
Yeah. She took a picture with me too. It was funny. She goes, "So, you offering any mustache rides?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I would, but my wife would be really pissed off at me."
Okay. Now that you said that, I can go ahead and tell the story.
Yes.
Like I said, I'd never really talked to her until this weekend, and like I was picking up a guy to take to work a checkpoint, and I was kind of waiting a few minutes, and she came over to me and we were like just kind of talking real quick, and she's like, "How old are you?" I was like, 24, and she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, you're really cute. Anytime you want to hang out, just let me know." I was like, "Okay, thanks." It was so funny because it was really random, just at random.
Oh man! So what you're saying? If either of us were in the mood, we probably could have just said, "Hey, what up?" Maybe. I don't know. We might have been reading the situation wrong. I did walk away and ask Steven. I was like, "Was she hitting on me?" He's like, "I don't know." I was like, "I don't either. I just kind of questioning it. I don't really know what to say on this one." But your story's good too. I'm trying to think. We had a lot of fun, and we got to meet. So I finally got to meet Curtis, a cool dude that's been in the chat room. Gets to watch live a lot. His mother was really cool. I got to talk with her, ask her as a mom what she thinks is the fact that her 17-year-old son is a fan of the show, and are we doing a good job, not just for us, but for the youth of the sport, and how much she was very honest, which was great. So that kind of feedback is the kind of stuff that can make this show better and would make us do a little bit more for the fans and make sure that everybody's getting a lot out of this show. It was really neat. There's a kid, Hunter, I can't remember his last name, 250A class. His parents gave him for his birthday two weekends, two GNCC Arrive-N-Ride packages, so he could go and race in the 250A class at some of the GNCCs. Lives in New York though, so he can't. It's too far for them to go to all those. So that was really cool. This dude was fast, and it was funny because I think he was like 16 or 17 years old. You could just he didn't even really have a tight shirt on, but you could see all the muscles, and I was like really kind of afraid to stand. I mean, he was a super happy kid, always had a smile on his face, but he'd just stand there and he had these huge pec muscles, and I was like, oh my god, this kid's super strong. It was just kind of awkward. I don't know. Do you have pec muscles, Bolton?
Were you hitting on him?
I don't think. I mean,
just
no.
a little.
He's not 18. He's not 18. He's
there
not,
you go.
He's not 18, so no.
Flex for you.
Yeah. Oh, look at my pecs.
Yeah, maybe flex my gut.
Yeah, my six pack.
That's about it.
We did get nice and drunk Friday night though.
I you know what? I noticed that when I came by after. Yeah, I kind of figured so.
Wait, did I see you Friday night?
Yeah, man. You don't remember that?
Nope.
No, I'm just kidding.
At least I'm being honest. Oh yeah, we had a good time. Apparently, Stu.
Let's see.
Big Stu tried to take some pictures of me, but couldn't figure out my camera.
Friday, I left at like 8 o'clock and went to some. Where did I go? Oh, we went and ate at some restaurant in Clinton, South Carolina, and then went back to the hotel and I fell asleep at like 10 o'clock. See, I party hard on these GNCC weekends. So hope everybody realizes that.
Well, that's work for you. I don't drink. I that was the third time this year that I've had any kind of alcohol, but it was just like I knew that I was in a safe place. I wasn't gonna get myself in any trouble or do anything stupid. I was out in the middle of nowhere, and it was a good time to let loose.
Yeah, that's it's a good place to do it for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that on like a typical Wednesday night when I got to go to work the next morning and actually be productive.
Why not? It's fun.
No. Do you have any idea how much it hurts to stare at a computer screen with a hangover? Even the smallest hangover makes that job suck.
I do. I do know that.
Nah.
Do you know how bad it sucks to set up a checkpoint with a hangover?
Yes.
You're just bent over, putting wires and stuff, putting Ethernet cables together, and then you stand back up and you're just like, oh god.
See, that's when you go and just put beer in your Camelback, and you just go out there and keep drinking and just hair the dog, son of a bitch.
Yeah. that's got bad news all over it. I mean, I've already towed one poor girl the wrong direction at Snowshoe last year. We all got that story, and I was 100% sober that day. And I towed a different girl slightly the wrong direction for a lot shorter amount of time at Steel Creek this year because she was in just such a bad spot on top of one of the mountains, and there's no way you can't go off. It goes off this way almost straight off, and then it went off this way straight off. And I tried going out this way. The track went down here, and then when I went out the ridge this way, it dropped straight off. So eventually I found an old trail that went way back. Basically, it went back to where we started at, is what it did. So
what you're saying is we shouldn't trust you.
99% of the time you can trust me to tow you out, but try to break down somewhere that's not a bad location. Basically, if you're on top of a ridge somewhere, push it, see if you can push it to the bottom. See if you can coast it to the bottom. That's your best bet.
That way you don't have to drag us up the ridge or down the ridge. What's the point?
Well, if you're up on top, chances are you're parking down in the bottom somewhere. So I go back to the bottom.
So you're a bottom kind of guy.
Yeah.
While you're talking about towing people out, how is it pulling UTVs out?
We came up with that.
With wheels being off, and it sure seems like more of a pain.
It is, yeah, it is. We just call them a tow truck, say a tow job. And basically it's basically like a winch that comes up off the back of the quad. It hooks onto like a regular hitch, and it comes out and up, and it's got a winch up the top, and you crank it, and it basically can lift up the front or back end wherever the wheel's broken. That way you can pull it.
Yeah.
Now, doing that with a UTV on a quad, it works, but it is so hard on the quad. So after Georgia this year, we actually have a new rule now that anything, if you rip the wheel off of it, you're getting towed with a dozer now.
Wow.
Because it destroys a quad. Now you can, if you just burn up a belt or just if you break something else and it can still roll.
Yeah, as long as you're rolling.
I can still tow you with a quad. Oh. But I towed one up. He was at the end of that really long road. So that's like 2 miles.
Yeah.
I basically towed him 2 miles, and part of it slants uphill most of the way. And actually my quad got so hot that it went into limp mode. It went into limp home mode, just towing him up the hill. But when I got to the top and it flattened out, it was a little bit better. It cooled off a little bit. But it wasn't until I got him back and dropped him off and let it sit for a minute that it went out of limp mode. It's just towing those things. They're so heavy. It's really hard on equipment.
Yeah, we were talking with the guys at the UTV stuff. It sounds like it's tough, really tough to get, a well put together UTV and have all the right parts so that shit doesn't break. Because it sounds like there was a lot of those dudes just strewed out everywhere. Yeah, it's and a lot of times it's not really anybody's fault. It's just the nature of it, and 90% of the time it is the right side front wheel that gets ripped off because they'll go into a corner or something and there's a tree and they'll kind of misjudge this side, and it'll just catch the tree and just rip it off. Oh, because they're on the left side, right?
Yeah.
Yep, the driver's on the left side, so they can't see the right side as good. So it's like I said, 95% of the time it's the right front wheel.
Well, as a passenger / navigator, is there a way to try to look for that kind of debris and to say, like hand signals or talk that's like, don't go too deep into this turn because there's a tree that could rip off the front tire?
Well, since our communications weren't working, and he couldn't really see my hand signals, like when we were going back over footage when we got back to camp, he's like, "What the hell are you pointing at?" It was like I was like saying go that way, and you couldn't hear me, so I was like trying to point. So unless you've got a communication system that works, I don't know what good the co-pilot's gonna do.
Yeah, you're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
That's okay too, though. Whee!
Yeah.
What I've noticed on my end, shooting the UTV races, is the co-pilot is really good at waving out the window and yelling at me. They're really good at that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'd like to get all the footage and put together a montage of just those, just like people riding by going, "Woo!"
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's an hour and a half roller coaster ride. So.
It's interesting. Well, cool. Before we start kind of closing things up, I definitely want to say thank you to one of our other great sponsors and supporters of Seat Time is Stillwell Performance. If you guys think that you might need any kind of suspension work, if you have questions about suspension on your motorcycle or UTV, they do UTV suspension as well, you can call them up at their shop, or you can shop, or you can go to their website, which is stillwellperformance.com. Definitely tell them that Seat Time sent you. It's kind of the same thing with Bolton. If you call them up and when you reach out, tell them that you heard about them on the show, they do kind of have an in-house discount that they can give to you, and that obviously saves you money. They do have a lot of parts as well that they produce, that they machine, that they kind of, I don't know if invented is the right word. One of the accessories that they did invent is the adjustable guide, adjustable linkage guide for originally for KTMs, but they do have them out now for Hondas and some other bikes. Drastically, or it can minutely change your head angle of your bike, which can drastically change the way that it feels and the way that it handles, which is good for sometimes if you're looking for that and don't just want to drop or raise your forks in the triple clamps. So definitely check that out, stillwellperformance.com. Give them a call, let them know that we sent you on over there. Alan Stillwell is doing great things. He's worked on a lot of cool bikes, obviously with Cody Webb, Max Gersten, and now with Corey Buttrick doing the National Enduro Series because he is on the beta team, which he is. They do the suspension for. So cool. We appreciate their support. We would like it if you would support them. So, Bolton, what's next for you?
Actually, this weekend, I will be heading a whole hour away to ride sweep on Saturday at the Mid-East race at Antioch Speedway. It's actually a pretty cool place. You actually start and do kind of like some grass track type stuff. In the middle, it's actually a dirt track. Like a dirt car track. So kind of ride around the middle of it, ride up on the actual speedway, and then ride around in the woods around it. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go out there and ride a little bit of sweep on Saturday. And probably do nothing on Sunday. And then next weekend, off to Indiana for the Limestone 100 GNCC.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be cool. So how does that terrain change from what we saw this past weekend?
The Limestone, it's kind of funny. Like the Limestone and the Ironman, they're both in Indiana, and a lot of people are like, okay, they're similar places, kind of fast and open. Actually, the Limestone has a lot of rock. It's kind of, there's a few places where you're kind of down in some little valleys, and it's really, really, really rocky. But that place is also a riding park, so there's like 10 million different trails there, so I'm going to spend probably, I think the first year we went to Limestone in 2012, on Thursday I went around doing moose tape and arrows, and I blocked so many trails with moose tape. I think I started at like 8 o'clock, and I came back for lunch at noon, and I wasn't even halfway around the track.
Goodness, there's just that many like crossing paths.
Yeah, there's so many places you cross other trails. So, but it's still a pretty good place. It's got a good flow to it, a little bit different than stuff we're used to. So it's good.
Cool. Well, good luck to all of our KR4 friends that we've now made. It was cool to see all the little utes, if you will, out there with their families, really participating in the program and getting a chance to really, be part of a huge team and a huge family of racers, riders, and just enthusiasts. And it was really neat to see that. So good luck to all those guys, everybody that we got to meet. Thank you to everybody that came up and said hi to us this past weekend. We really appreciate that. It was very cool. So Jared Bolton, what is your Twitter handle? What is it, just at Jared Bolton?
Yeah, I keep it simple. Twitter, Instagram, at Jared Bolton. Don't church it up or anything. Uh, basically, yeah, that's all me. And Instagram's the better one. It's a little more interesting. Post some cool stuff here and there. But if you're not into the whole Instagram thing, Instagram pictures still get posted to Twitter, and every now and then I still remember to put them on Facebook too.
Yeah, I know. Steven was getting on me about that this past weekend.
Yeah.
He was like, whoosh, whoosh. It's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I did have a pretty cool Instagram picture yesterday. I made a new friend when I was cleaning up yesterday.
Oh, that snake?
I stopped at the top of the big hill climb, and I was pulling a bunch of like moose tape and arrows and stuff, and I walked back to the quad, and I'm like, oh look, I got a stick wrapped around my rear axle, and I bend down and I go to grab it. I'm like, that's not a stick. This guy was like, he was up over the rear axle of the quad, and he was just kind of chilling there. I guess it was warm. As he liked the warmth, and then so I was like, okay, well, I can't just pull away with him in there. It's just a black snake. I don't want to hurt him. So I went and got a stick, and I kind of pushed him out of there. And then my quad is actually the one that Barry rode last year. So, Barry rode it basically blazing some new trails. So there's a hole in the floorboard of the quad where he kind of broke part of it. And the snake actually came up through the hole in the floorboard and then like kind of curled up in the floorboard of the quad. So I had to chase him out of there too. It was pretty interesting. I've never seen anything like that. But yeah, I chased him away, took a picture of him, played with him a little bit, sent some Snapchat videos. I picked him up with a stick and Snapchatted it and sent him about his way. I named him Henry. I named him Henry because the landowner at Big Buck, his name's Henry Turner. So
that's right. I do remember seeing that in the comments of the picture. Oh my gosh, the misadventures of Jared Bolton, I'm telling you.
Never know what's going to happen.
I would have dropped my pants and dropped the poop in my pants and just run away screaming, regardless of the type of snake.
Well, notice I constantly said with a stick. I did not touch him with my hands at all, and I was not going to either.
Yeah. I hear that. Well, cool. Well, you can find Bolton at all those fun places. Of course, Seat Time. You can find us at seattime.co. That is the website where we archive all the sites and shows. And then, of course, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/SeatTime. We are on Twitter. It is at SeatTime_CO. We are on Instagram, SeatTime, one word, all lowercase, though I don't know if that part matters. YouTube, you can find us there. Just search for SeatTime, Pintful of Awesome. All of our episodes are there. We're even using their live events now. I don't know if you guys have noticed that we've switched over to YouTube. Hopefully things are going better for you guys. We think they are. So please let us know if everything seems to be working better for the live shows. Definitely appreciate Jenny Taft for being on a little bit earlier. Bolton, you as well for taking your Tuesday night and hanging with us. If you ever get a girlfriend or boyfriend or anything, we're going to be screwed.
Yeah. I had that for a little while, but man, I told her to kick rocks. Start kicking rocks.
Oh, I'm sure that's what happened.
You know what was even more awesome was I was in Georgia for the GNCC, so I'd been gone for like 2 weeks, and I was like, yeah, you're crazy.
Well, you're a ginger. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff's just going to get crazy. We will not have a show next week. We've been going straight forward for a couple weeks now, so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we will be back in 2 weeks for sure. So we'll have some Limestone 100 coverage. I think it'll be a good time to get some of the guys back on. I don't like to try to pester the riders too much to have them all on. That's why it's fantastic. Not only does Bolton have great insight, but he's at all the races all the time. Good back and forth, good dialogue, if you will, so I always enjoy having him on. Steven, of course, got to kick it and hang out with all the UTV, Arrive-N-Ride, KR4 guys. I can't say how awesome that program was enough. The video footage that we've got is going to be fantastic. We are going to start working on that soon. So hopefully in the next couple weeks here we'll have that out. We do have our real jobs, which is unfortunate. It'd be great to be able to just do that for a living, but one day. So we'll have that out for everybody to see, the Woody and Steven Arrive-N-Ride Adventure and how all that went. So Thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been Seat Time, episode 124. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and yeah, remember to always enjoy a pint full of awesome. Later.
Yeah. Good times.